Hello, everyone. I want to talk about karmic lives and the effect that these lives have on us, and also to expand a little bit more on karmic illness so you understand why you are perhaps bringing those two things in. So, some of our past lives are directly influenced by karma and the karma we owe other people. So, we live on this reward and return of good work, and we can have two lives. We can have the easy life and everything runs really smoothly. We've got love and money and abundance, and we connect with the right people, and everything seems to be very lucky, and there's rewards everywhere, and it seems to go our way. And these karmic lives are almost like our blessing. And in the good lives, we have the opportunity to give away money, we support other people, charity is our choice, but with the abundance, we can just do it easily. The other karmic life involves walking in another person's shoes to learn the unlearned lesson. By reliving the terrible life of someone else we hurt, or someone else that we need to understand how that felt, we burn more karma. And it's like paying a debt. Now, the debt can take a whole life to pay off, and perhaps only a short part. This is a very important life because there's lots of learning in it. You will find people who are in very difficult circumstances aren't there because they're bad, they're there because sometimes they chose to experience that life. It was like a learning for them. So don't always look at people and think, oh, you must have had bad karma, or actually think about your life and think, what did I do to deserve this? We can actually opt to actually experience something which isn't so much a karmic thing, it's just that we want to understand what it feels like. After we die, we sit with our spiritual guardians and they help us to plan the next life. And depending on the damage we incurred on the earth, decides whether we are made to replay it or not. When we've had the lesson several times and we will not learn it, then spirit tends to step in once we've died. After we pass, if we refuse, we are made to stand on the edge of darkness until we comply. I didn't see this edge of darkness the way my psychic friend Drew saw it, but I think he nailed it because I could see the person who I know didn't do the lesson, and they just looked like they were in the wilderness. Drew tended to see it like standing in like a darkness, and they stay there until they learn the lesson spiritually. Some souls stay there for years and decades, and it's their own self-created hell, and they will pay the price in the darkness. And later, if they don't comply or want to do it, they just come back and have to have the reverse of the life, so now they're the victim of it. So don't think all lives are punished, like karmic punishment. Some are, but some aren't. Some we actually choose. And I think you need to understand that, because if you've had a life where you feel like you're quite a good, loving person and all manner of things have gone wrong, that isn't necessarily karma. I feel personally that many of the lessons I had to learn were unconditional love and forgiveness. And you have to have people who are difficult and unloving to learn to love, and also people who probably have done things that were fairly unforgivable to learn to forgive. So sometimes we're just working on that very high lesson. So they're actually good for us in some ways because they make us learn how to do that, because as a human it's actually quite hard to do that. The next part is the karmic illnesses, and you can actually bring those in from other lives. It's usually not, you usually know it. You need to have a feeling around it, because you might come in and land up always having lung problems or heart problems, stomach problems, and that's something that's come in from past lives that you've had. Sometimes it's a bit karmic because you need to now deal with it, and usually it's got to do with the emotions that you're carrying. The major ones are fear and anger, hate, guilt, resentment, and I think sorrow. There are others, of course. But to become well, we need to let those emotions go. I feel that anger and hate and resentment, guilt too, they are real strong emotions underpinning lots of illnesses and diseases. And they also hold us to stopping from being loving or forgiving. When you hate somebody or angry with them and resent them, it's actually very hard to do the love and forgiveness thing. But if you can do that, That will really, really help. And I kind of feel for you, if you're listening to these podcasts, you're the person who's able to do that. So our illnesses can be a vehicle for learning and understanding as well. And if we understand we're not being punished, but we might be balancing karma, or we made the choice, that will be much easier for you to understand it. I had someone read me, and she told me that when I was about 40, in my 40s, I was male, I was a little bit of a workaholic, I think, and she said to me I ended up having heart problems because I was too stressed, and that in this life I needed to be aware of that because I could actually follow that same pattern. And I can see that now, that karmically I didn't heed the looking after yourself, nurturing yourself in that life. I just was hell-bent on doing my work. So this life I try to balance it more. I do my work, but I also do other things. So try to see past your problem and understand it. The things that happened to you before were sometimes not your fault, sometimes they were. We manifest them, but not always. And when it comes to these lifetime diseases, just be more mindful that it could be a vulnerability that you have. Also understand that great souls will often choose difficult lives for the experience of literally being in someone else's shoes. And without that reality, we could not learn. And sometimes it's for their work. If I hadn't gone through what I'd gone through, I wouldn't have the compassion or understanding when someone tells me a similar thing that happened to them. I won't be judgmental either because I've walked in those shoes. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I did it. Many famous people like Helen Keller, who was blind, made a difference to the world because of their condition. Without that handicap, she couldn't have done her work. So it was service work, and she made the lives of blind people better. And there would never be a cure for those people. It's the same as Christopher Reeve, Superman guy, who got paralysed. He did lots of work and spent lots of money doing medical procedures and trying to find out ways to stop being paralysed. So he furthered the work. But even though he went to healers, he was never healed because he wasn't supposed to be healed. He was supposed to come and help people. So when you are now looking at where you get sick, you might understand it is a karmic thing, but you might also understand it's a past life that you've had and you've brought it in with you. And when I say it's karma, it's like we bring it in with us. It sits like in the causal body, which is I think the sixth one out, the sixth layer, and that's where it all is. And so when you release the fear that you have around things, anger, resent, you'll actually be releasing quite a lot of your past lives, which is really good because we really need to be clearing up some of our mess this life, because this actually life at this time is a very, very important life for us. The timing is because of the vibration. I think we're going into the fifth vibration now, or dimension. Some of us are past that, some of us are running towards it. And because the vibration's higher, it's actually a much better place to start doing the work. It's about understanding yourself. It's about knowing yourself. We know our past lives somewhere in here. And you might start to, if you do some meditations around your asthma, if you have asthma or your backache or your migraines, you might start to actually understand and see why you have those. You might get some flashes of some lives. There's some really good tapes that people have made for past life regression. And in these past life regression, you imagine yourself, you're looking down, you see your shoes, and then you walk down the path and go back. And people have actually sat in groups sometimes. I've been in groups like this where we do it all together and then afterwards we share what we saw. And then sometimes if you're with a lot of psychic people, they will actually get even more glimpses for you about what the life was like before. I have trouble with my right hip, and I was told that by another psychic friend that in one of the lives I was in a battle, and one of those like cannonball things smashed into my hip and fractured it, but actually broke it into pieces. And from then on, I could never walk properly. So I just did a meditation where I went back to that life and released it and ask that it be healed, that I don't carry it through in this life. I've seen other people and talked to other people. One lady came to me, she was very badly anorexic, and I saw that she was in the French Revolution, and the people were stuffing food in her mouth. She got caught. She was one of the, not royalty, but high up in society, that the people all went against, and they held her down and stuffed food in her mouth, and she was choking and choking, and that life was activating this, that she had trouble with her eating, and that she had a fear around food because they'd stuffed it in. So I relate it to in a kind of a compassionate way. I think that if someone else can tell you, you can actually let that go from your past life, and in a sense you burn the karma. I'd be interested to hear in the comments if anyone has seen or heard of other people who've had these past life illnesses. They're really quite fascinating, but they're also really good to get rid of. So see if you can do some work around it. Probably the meditation one's the best one, stepping yourself through and see if something comes up. Or you can just ask your guides to show you. And sometimes you just see the little picture or you just know. It's a very powerful way to heal yourself by releasing these past lives. I've seen some of mine just while I was washing up the dishes or something, and I think we're all quite capable because it's our stuff, so we can access it. Have a healthy week, have a peaceful week, and I'll send you love and light.